Welcome to the Fit Bridge, a podcast connecting you to conversations that help bridge you to success within the health and fitness industry. Hi, friends. I'm glad you're back because today's episode is inspired by you. Y'all spoke and we listened. You wanted a guest that was an expert in the category of nutrition. So we went out and found the creme de la creme and the best of the best in the industry. I'm your host, R.C. Hahn, and today it's my privilege to bring to you Mrs. Kat Barefield. She has her master's in dietetics and sports nutrition and is the vice president of nutrition at dotFIT worldwide, as well as an NASM nutrition educator and content creator. She's an author, a speaker. She's created weight management resources and tools that I guarantee you've used and you don't even know it. We start with some myth busting, right? What are these things we're seeing in the industry? Do they work? Do they not work? And then furthermore, tell us the right answer. How should we be navigating our nutritional programming? So whether you're a fitness professional looking to accelerate your clients' goals, or you're an individual looking to take your personal fitness journey to the next level, I guarantee you're going to want to tap in. We go over why you're not losing weight, the law of thermodynamics, and is it enough? I mean, it's endless. I could talk to Kat for hours. Her passion is unparalleled, and I must say that her answer as to what she wished she would have had known earlier in her career and her life might just be one of my favorites thus far. I'm grateful you're here. I can't wait to hear what you took away from this episode. Let's get started. Hello, Kat. Thanks so much for taking the time to be on the Fit Bridge podcast. How's your day going so far?
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm excited about our discussion. And it's Friday, so
I know it is Friday. Yeah, timestamp it. Friday. We got. Now, I got to start by saying, like, you're a badass. And I have yes, sis, yes. And I have so much respect for you. So I don't even know if we're going to get to all of these questions, but I have so many things I want to unravel. I want to start by asking, for those of whom are listening in that might not be familiar, can you break down the difference, between a dietitian, a nutritionist, those whom have nutrition specializations within our industry, and kind of bring us up to speed on what a registered dietitian is? And then also expand upon kind of the education that one has to acquire to fill that dietitian seat.
Yeah. Okay. So from a broad perspective, anybody can call themselves a nutritionist per se. A dietitian or a registered or a licensed dietitian or a registered or licensed nutrition, they have to undergo certain requirements educationally. So it's typically a bachelor's degree. I believe most recently a master's degree is now required. And then you also have to do dietetics coursework. There are certain requirements you need to complete in college. And then you need to do a clinical internship. I believe it's around 1,200 or 1,500 hours. It takes about 2 years to do part-time. And then you sit for a board exam or a registration exam. So you don't have to do that as a quote unquote nutritionist, right? Unless it's a licensed nutritionist, because it varies by state, if you can imagine. It's not like a federal thing, it's a state by state thing. And then a nutrition specialist is someone who's taken a course. Maybe they completed a course through an organization or something, but they didn't go through the process that I just mentioned. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got it. You answered all the additional follow-up questions I was going to have. I was like, is that state by state or per company? Awesome. Thank you for that. And there's also different spaces that, a dietitian could work in. Now you're in the fitness side. I know what you and I like to call kind of that preventative medicine area within health and wellness. But what other occupations could someone that is a dietitian hold?
So as you can imagine, if you have to go through all that education and then do a clinical internship and then sit for, an exam, that, you get trained to work with patients and work with various health issues and disease states. So that's the main thing is dietitians can work in a clinical setting like a hospital or a dialysis center for, for people who, have diabetes or advanced kidney disease. Or you can work in, let's say, in eating disorders, or perhaps with women and breastfeeding and, lactation, becoming a lactation specialist. So there's all types of aspects of health that a dietitian can work in because of the training and the extra, experience that's required to become a dietitian.
Love that. So, out of all
Yeah.
of those, why did Kat get into it? What led you on this journey? Tell us the story of why
Yeah.
you wanted to become a dietitian and then how you got into the, arena within the more fitness side.
Right. Right. Well, I didn't seek out to become a dietitian.
Oh, this is going to be an
It sort of
interesting
happened.
story.
Yeah, sort of
Okay, I'm going to
happened.
grab my drink here. It's just water, folks,
You
but
know,
tell us the story.
well, I think that, sometimes that when we're young, we think that, we've got a certain plan that in our head that will work out, and then life takes you in a different direction. And that's sort of what happened to me, is that I wanted to work in athletics because I was an athlete growing up. And so my undergrad degree is in athletic training. And so I did a 2-year internship there as well, and didn't become an athletic trainer because after working in that space for 2 years, I was like, I don't want to do this.
Tried it. Not for me. What's the next thing?
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then what happened was, a friend of mine was managing a 24-hour fitness and was like, come work for me. Well, my son was a toddler at the time. And I'm like, yeah, I want to do some work outside the home. And so I started working in fitness, which is vastly different than athletics, if you can imagine. And, that's when I started paying attention to nutrition even more. Athletic training is more of the physical aspect, rehabbing injuries, injury prevention, things like that. But with fitness, most people want to change their body composition. They want to lose fat,
Mhm.
or build some muscle, or a combination of the two. So when I started working in a fitness space, I used to run a program called Apex Fitness. The nutrition software, so to speak. It was a desktop program. I know that some of you listening may not know what a desktop is,
Yeah.
and you had to actually
We
insert.
both just dated ourselves. I
Yeah.
was just like, oh, yeah, I used that in my early career. I remember that.
Yeah, you had to insert a CD into the computer,
Yeah.
run the software, and then when you wanted an update, they sent you a new CD, right? So that's what I ran. Is I ran this nutrition system, and I just started to observe that the people who, had a nutrition plan, who paid more attention to nutrition, they got better results than the people who were just coming into the gym to work out. And so it sort of piqued my interest in nutrition. And what I decided to do was go back to school. I still had hopes of working in athletics. But so I go back to school and I got my master's degree in sports nutrition. And then, of course, I got to take all the related courses. So, the weight management, the nutritional biochemistry, things like that. And then, I looked at the curriculum and I looked at dietetics and I'm like, well, if I become an RD, it gives me a lot more options. So I took an extra, I think a year or so of coursework to finish the dietetics curriculum because there's a lot of crossover. And so I was able to actually apply what I was learning to working as a personal trainer. And it's so funny because when I was an undergrad, and maybe some of you can relate to this, but you're just trying to get through school, right? Like you're not really
Preach it.
loving it. Yeah, you're just like, goodness gracious, what I got to take this statistics class for, right? Like, what? So, and you just want to get through it. So you start working in a field that you're interested in and that you really enjoy, and then you go back to school, like you're like a kid in a candy shop because like everything that you're learning, you're directly applying. Right. So that's what I was. I was like an older student. I was a mom. I'm like, we're going to classes at night, working during the day. And I was so excited to be a student because everything I was learning nutrition wise, I could come back and apply to my clients. So it kind of happened on accident. I'm like, let me just do this because it will, I can do it anyways, and it'll advance my career, give me more options. And at the time I was still working. I was actually personal training, and then I actually got hired by Neil Spruce, founder of Apex Fitness, founder of dotFIT, where I work now. And he's like, you should just go and get your RD. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
well, it'll help the company.
Why not at this point, right?
Yeah. And I'm like, and at one point it was so funny, side story, like working for Neil, and he's so like, he'll tell you, he's like, women are the superior gender. He's
I
like,
mean, and
there's,
that's why we love Neil. We love
that's why we
Neil
know
for
Neil.
so many reasons. The list could go
Right?
on, but I mean, I think he's brilliant for that exact reason.
Okay. So it was so funny. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I'm overwhelmed. I got to work. I got this kid. I had my daughter at the time. And I'm like, I got to breastfeed. I got to work. I got to go to school. I don't know if I got to quit. He's like, you're not quitting. Are you kidding me? He's like, bring the kid to the office if you need to, but you're not quitting. We'll figure it out. So he was actually very instrumental in me going back to school, getting my master's and becoming a dietitian. Just encouraging me the entire time and not letting me be quit, even though I was an overwhelmed, stay at home, quote unquote, stay at home, also full time mother, and part-time student. I was like all of those things all at once, right? So
Oh.
yeah, long story short, I
We're
didn't
here for
plan
the
on
long
it.
stories. That's what I was hoping for. Like, that's a whole episode, sister. Just give me
Yeah,
all the deets, give me all the
right.
stories. Well, I want to start by saying, like, thank you. One, I'm grateful personally that you did stay on that path and didn't give up because even myself, and I can speak for handfuls of other people in the industry, have incorporated and used and benefited from, programs, systems, products, and businesses that you've helped be a part of. And in turn, I've used knowledge. I know for a fact, because I heard your name many a year ago, and absorbed knowledge that you provided, as an educator to fitness professionals that then I went and used with my clients. So I think that's just
Love
a
it.
beautiful, like you said, beautiful story of, you impacted not just directly the clients that you went back and worked with that day, but all of the clients of all of the personal trainers in all of the world that also used your information. Like, talk about the like tentacles spreading out and touching and impacting so many more lives. So thank you for not quitting. And I want to take a little pause there as well within that before we get down this incredible journey of so many nutrition questions that I have. But like, I want to personally know, like, how did you balance that? I mean, that's like
Hardest
a
thing I've
common
ever done.
question and thing that comes up. I feel like a lot of listeners are probably saying like, how, and you made a face when I said you are a badass. When we opened this up, I'm like, you're over here conquering the world, getting these degrees, being a mom, taking care of your own fit. I mean, you're balancing and juggling so many things. Like, how does one do that? Like, can you share some insight on what you learned from that and advice for us on how to balance those things?
Yeah, so I definitely don't recommend it.
Well, that's the best answer I've ever heard. Actually,
Uh,
avoidance is the number one
well,
answer I
no.
could give you guys.
What I mean by that is if you can go to school before you have kids, that to try to do that because it is very taxing on the family and you do have to make a lot of sacrifices in terms of time and you do have to have other people. So like my parents really helped me out when I had to do an internship at 5 a.m. they would come to my house and be with my kids so that I could do the internship that day. And I had to do that for 2 years. So it was like, it was grueling. You go to work during the day and then you go to school at night. Well, someone has to be with the kids. So my husband would do that. So he had sacrificed too. So it definitely takes, your family and a supportive community. At least for me, it did, to do that. And then of course you're sleep deprived almost your entire time that you're, a mother of small children for one,
Yeah.
and then to be a student on top of that and work. So you just step by step, day by day. And, if your mind is, if your mind is just piqued and just so interested in the subject, you find a way through it because you're so interested and engaged with what you're doing. And to your
Mhm.
point, you're able to share it with your clients and other people. And so it gives you a lot of meaning. So when you have meaning in your life, right, that drives it and it makes things easier, hard things easier to do. Whereas if you don't have meaning and you're just like, let me just, whatever, earn a paycheck, then of course it gets to be a lot more, more of a struggle that way.
Mhm. I know we're probably going to unpack that even more within
Yeah.
some of the words I know you selected for our Fiber Foundation moment. So just teaser, guys, we're going to dig into that even deeper. But I want to go back and hear about like the three most common things. I mean, I feel like in your career and still currently,
Mhm.
you're getting bombarded with questions. Can you share with us what you feel like are the three most common, like incorrect, almost like myths or knowledge out
Yeah.
there going around at the circuits
Yeah.
on around, nutrition, supplementation, really just anything,
Yeah.
diets. Like, what are you hearing that is
Yeah.
just not right, people? What?
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I could do a whole segment on this, but I will say probably right now, the thing I hear the most is my client's not eating enough.
Talk to us about that. Yeah, I hear that all the
And
time. They're like, I'm not
it,
losing weight because I'm not eating
I'm
enough.
not eating enough.
You're kind of like,
So
well,
let me just sort of take this to a practical example. If you were to be locked in a room without access to adequate food, what would happen to your body?
I'm going to shrivel away because I'm going to be so thin.
Right. And like, I hate to make this reference, but just think of like, the concentration camps, people that were fed very little food.
No, you'd be
They did
completely
not come
emaciated.
out overweight. Their body did not hold on to their fat
It didn't
as
store
they
the
were
fat for
starving.
future, for in survival
No,
mode. It didn't do that?
no,
It doesn't do that?
no, no. So not eating enough is a very misunderstood concept. Now, what happens when you cut calories, particularly pretty drastically, is your body does compensate. It'll say, okay, let me try to survive. Let me slow everything down a little bit so that I can preserve energy to, obviously to keep this organism alive, running the brain, running the lungs, running everything like that. So there is a compensatory, mechanism that occurs if you're severely restricting calories. But that does not mean that you can't lose body fat. Because if you're in a caloric deficit, if your body's not getting enough fuel to run your brain, to run your lungs, to run all your organs, the body's going to go, okay, and I'm not getting enough. Let me just use my stored energy, right? Carbohydrate is in the form of glycogen, fat, obviously adipose tissue. And then, of course, we have our lean body mass, our amino acids. So the body's going to go, I'll just use what I got so that I can keep you alive. Maybe you'll find food in between all this time that you're in starvation mode, but let me just keep you alive. So that's the thought process. That's what's really happening. But because that happens, people think, oh, I'm not eating enough. That's why. And that is just it's just totally misunderstood. It's totally misunderstood. I will say though, if you cut your calories too low, that it makes your body does, try to compensate stronger than if you have a more of a moderate caloric deficit, So having a more moderate caloric deficit is better in terms of the body not compensating so much. But again, not eating enough doesn't prevent weight loss.
I think maybe the issue would be, if somebody is in that mindset, is it a lack of logging accurately, that they think they're really not eating as much, but what they're actually consuming that they thought was 500 calories was actually 1200, and that's where that deficit's not at? Or where do you think maybe the problem is within that with those individuals?
Yeah. So in general, it's an awareness piece. There's lack of awareness of something. It depends on the individual. And some people, it just relates to portion size. They just don't know. Portion sizes are off. They think it's way less than it actually is. They don't have a lot of knowledge around the calorie content. So, some of it has to do with that. Sometimes it's mindless eating. You don't realize that at night when you're snacking on something that it's got a lot more calories than you think it does. Or you don't realize that you've gone to the refrigerator a few times and had whatever snack, a handful of nuts one time, and you go back and get a piece of cheese, and then you go in and get, another handful of nuts. And
Are you don't realize you in my house? Are you?
Right.
Oh my God, Kat can see me. I literally just did that before this episode. Okay.
And some people, it's alcohol, and they don't realize the amount of alcohol that they're consuming. I have a glass of wine. Well, a glass of wine, technically speaking, is what, like 5 ounces, and yours is 12. And you're throwing back 3
We're not
of those.
here to judge.
Right. We're not here to judge. Not here to judge. Well, it goes back to an awareness piece. Or a lot of people will restrict during the week and be looser on the weekend, not realizing that, okay, you've done great during the week, but because you're looser on the weekend, you've basically wiped out the deficit that you established during the week. So it depends on the person, but in general, it is an awareness piece. Because if I gave somebody 1,200 calories and that's all they got is 1,200 prepackaged calories and put them in front of their face every single day, they would lose weight. In most cases, they would lose weight, unless we were talking about a very small human being that wouldn't, because their caloric requirements are lower. You know what I mean?
Right. Can you break that equation down a bit? As far as, and we'll go into the, law of thermodynamics a bit more, but what is a deficit, and what does 1 pound equal per deficit? So somebody could listening calculate that out, who wants to, if they're trying to lose weight, let's say, for instance, if that's circle.
Yeah. All right. So a calorie deficit means that you are consuming fewer calories than your body requires to maintain its weight, right? So your body requires a certain number of calories to run your metabolism. And everything that's within your metabolism, whether that's, all the exercise that you're doing, all the stuff that, you do around the house, all the fidgeting you do, so it requires all the metabolic reactions, your body requires a certain number of calories. And if you're eating adequate calories, your body will stay the same, right? If you start to cut the calories down for whatever reason, and you now are eating fewer calories than what's required to run your metabolism, Then you're in a deficit and the body goes, whoa, 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 you're not giving enough calories. I need to make ATP, right? I need to make energy. The ATP is the energy currency in the body. So the body will go, okay, let me just take its fat, or let me take some carbohydrates, or let me take some protein. Let me make some energy so that I can run your brain and your lungs and keep you alive. And so you start to lose mass because the body just is making energy to keep you alive and to run all your processes. Make sense?
I'm with it. I'm here.
Okay, good. But do
Yeah.
you think I answered it adequately, or do you think
Yeah,
there
I
are
had
other
a
things
follow-up
that?
question.
Okay.
We're familiar with maybe what our BMR is, or I know what my body burns per day. I can very quickly do that equation, right? My average expenditure that I need to keep my organs and my base, functions going. And then, use some type of tracker to see what I expended out more that day, which allows me whatever balance. But for those of whom, aren't aware with such technology or softwares or processes, how would one go about figuring out what their individual, base metabolic or expenditure is on a day to day? How could one find that information?
Well, the easiest way to do that is to get an estimate using an online calculator of some sort. And I like NASMs. NASM, the National Academy of Sports Medicine, they have a calorie calculator. Just Google that, NASM calorie calculator. And you can just put your information in. So your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, is once again the minimum number of calories required to keep your organs function in a rested state. No digestion, just in a rested state. Now, what are other components are there to your total calorie burn or energy expenditure? Well, you have the thermic effect of feeding. That is the energy required to digest and absorb your food. That would be around, 10% of your total calories or so. And then you have if you exercise, there's a portion of calories that are burned for exercise, right? And then you have your non-exercise calories, and that's just bathing, walking around the house, whatever house chores you have, fidgeting, things like that. So those four things: BMR, thermic effect of feeding, exercise, as well as non-exercise activity, compose your total energy expenditure. And BMR by far, right, is the biggest one, 60 to 70% of your total calorie burn or your total energy expenditure. And so when you put your information in an NSM calculator, it'll ask you these things, what's your height, what's your weight, things like that. How active are you? And then it'll give you an estimate. But it's not 100% accurate. Nothing is.
Mhm.
There are advanced techniques, scientific techniques like doubly labeled water that's pretty accurate, that can be used in a lab setting to track your energy expenditure more accurately. But only scientists do that. So
Yeah. I'm just
go
going to the
online.
calculator,
Yeah,
Google it, people. You heard it. And
exactly.
it
Go
says, yeah, the
exactly.
calculator. I mean, I think that's really helpful though, because before somebody just, puts himself on a 1200, calorie a day intake, when it's like, hey, yo, you could have had 1600 because you were naturally burning more. So I think just having that information, thank you for that resource there for somebody to go in and calculate. But feel free, yeah, guys, if you go into one of the labs and you have the plug on that, hit us up because I'm trying to, trying to do that level.
Well,
What
yeah, you
other
could participate in a research study if you wanted to.
well, okay, here we go, guys. Let's vote in the comments. Do you want me to be a part of this research study? What hole have I dug myself into? What other common myths are you hearing, around this space or frequently asked questions that you receive?
Okay, so the other one is around artificial sweeteners and diet
Mm,
sodas. So they're so benign. They're so benign. One of my favorite sayings, and this is one of the hangups I think in fitness is, I can say, don't major in minor things.
mm,
Don't major in minor things. Like artificial sweeteners is minor. Like the impact, what you see in the research studies or the headlines are basically animals getting mega dosed with artificial sweeteners, nothing that humans would ever come close to, right? And then you see these headlines and everybody's like, fear mongering. But when you actually look at the data and the human trials, having the normal consumption of a couple diet sodas a week, or even one a day, or even more than one a day actually, is perfectly fine. And it's actually um, a good replacement for sugar, especially added sugars. So
mm.
when people replace artificial sweetened beverages or lower calorie sweetened beverages with a regular sweetened beverage like a soda or a juice or something like that, it cuts calories and it improves health outcomes or health measures. So, people get so, I think it's the world we live in, the whole get your information off of TikTok type world we live in.
That's why I brought you here on the show, Kat, to do the
Yeah.
myth busting. I
Yeah.
mean, it's some highlights might end up on TikTok. So if you heard it on TikTok, but Kat said it,
Yeah.
it's legit. Like,
So I think that is, I think that's a myth. But certainly with anything, the dose makes the poison. So
Mhm.
if you're downing 24 Diet Cokes a day, there might be a problem, right? But I mean, if you're drinking one a day, there really is there's no issue.
Okay. I love that.
People can
Guys, you don't
relax.
have to feel guilty. She
You
said she
don't.
can have the diet soda
Yeah.
thing here and
Or,
there. It's all about balance too. I think I've heard from others as well. It's that, that it, because that can lead then to emotional eating and all of these other, paths negatively that you might go down if you're just in
yeah,
this psychological space negatively that it's like, oh, I can't eat that. Oh, I can't do that.
yeah,
And like now I feel
right.
bad. And then now that screws up all your
Yeah,
hormones and other things that it then, contributes to your inability to lose the weight. It's all connected in all the ways. It's like, let's be happy. Let's make smart decisions. Let's make educated decisions on what's good for our body. And if you did accidentally have 3 regular sodas that day, it's okay. What are we going to do tomorrow? How are we going to,
yes.
let's have that healthy relationship with our bodies, with what we're ingesting, all of
Yeah.
those types of things. What would you say is the number one reason that individuals aren't reaching their health and fitness goals, whether it be, the losing weight, gaining muscle, any of the categories of their fitness goals? Is there one thing or 2 things or something that you can point at that you'd say is a big opportunity that we're missing?
Mhm. Well, I would think, if we're talking about gym members,
Mm.
most people come into the gym, they want to lose some body fat. That's the number one goal of most gym members. They come in thinking that it's going to be the cardio.
Mm.
I got to do all this cardio, right? To lose weight. They overestimate cardio and they underestimate resistance training and nutrition.
Mhm.
So that's the biggest thing, that gym members, they have this misperception. I got to run it off, you know? And most sedentary, deconditioned, overweight individuals getting into the gym, they have a hard time doing 10 minutes on the treadmill, right? And they don't realize that for you to lose some body fat, you have to, run or walk approximately like 35 miles to lose about a pound in general, is the calculation in general.
Mhm.
Like they don't understand how little calories exercise burns in comparison to losing body fat. So that's what I'd say about gym members. What I would say about trainers is, not actually, um, well, I'd probably say maybe it's more of a all or none type of thinking. Like you have to take an extreme approach, which is actually antithetical to the way humans change.
Right, when you look at
Right?
those behavioral
Yeah,
strategies and
exactly.
mhm.
Exactly. So, I just have to do this. And it's like completely like opposite of what they've been doing their whole life. So it's that all or none, black and white thinking, and what the way humans change is by feeling good, not feeling bad, right?
Yeah.
It's by incorporating new habits,
Mhm.
and those habits being reinforced and repeated, and then overcoming any kind of obstacle or challenge to that habits, and then course correcting and then repeating again. So it's a process, not a decision. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Right, it's the journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, and the individualization, I think, as
Yeah.
well. And I know we can elaborate that. I have a couple other questions from what you said there,
Yeah.
before we go into kind of that individualizing and what each, personable body needs. Um, are you saying, within the cardio, what would be that other solution? Do you think that people get in that space because, okay, they research and like, okay, 3,500 calories equals 1 pound. I want to
Yeah.
lose 1 pound. Therefore, I
Yeah.
need to burn X amount of calories. And they're on their watch, they're seeing, okay, when I did cardio, I burned 200 calories. Now, if I went and weightlifted, I only burned 100. So they're thinking in their mind that is not giving them the benefit. Can you share a little bit from a science perspective, the concept of, like epoch and actually why weightlifting? Because if I wasn't educated on it, I'd be looking at my watch too and being like, okay, that chick's crazy. How are you telling me that? My watch just told me I burned more when I did cardio than when I lifted. Can you break that
Yeah.
down on why that weight resistance is so crucial to weight loss?
Well, yeah. So part of it are these watches and these calculators and these wearables are highly inaccurate. So that's one thing is it's not even an accurate capturing of what it is. And so and the other aspect of it is depending on how intensely they're resistance training, and how much they're moving. Um, again, their calorie burn may not be captured. And what the wearable doesn't capture is the fact that when you're losing weight, when you're in a calorie deficit, your body's going to break down muscle tissue. Typically, it's around 75% fat, and about a quarter of a pound is going to be lean body mass that you lose. And so when you resistance, and if you lose muscle, you lower your metabolism, right? Whereas what resistance training is actually resistance training and protein preserve muscle tissue,
Hmm.
right? And the more muscle tissue you have, then the more calories you can burn during your cardio. So when you look at the body of evidence and you look, okay, what's the most beneficial in terms of body composition, not just the weight loss, but the body, because people want better body composition, right? They don't want to just be, as I call it, skinny fat or soft skinny.
Yeah.
Resistance training, obviously, along with a nutrition plan that puts them in a calorie deficit, is going to be best for body composition. Now, cardio can help facilitate that process because you're going to be burning more calories, but you've got to send a signal to the muscle tissues that you need to hold on to muscle, like resistance training, or else it'll, if you don't use it, you
Lose
lose it.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I wouldn't pay a lot of attention to the watches and the counting and all that stuff. And I actually think that's the wrong place to start. The right place to start is looking at your current intake. What are you eating now? Okay. We know we got to get you in a deficit. Who freaking cares if it's 3,500 calories? Like, that's fluid, anyways. We got to get you in a deficit. Let's do that. So, what are you eating now? Then let's estimate how many calories your body actually requires. So we have a working knowledge between, okay, this is how much I need. This is how much I'm eating now. Now look at what you're eating right now. Okay, what can you manipulate? Drinking 3 sodas a day? Are you going to Starbucks and getting a frappuccino mocha latte and a muffin and it's like, half of your calorie intake? Are you eating, high calorie items during dinner that you could cut in half or replace? Like, what are you doing right now? And like, let's pick out what things can you do that you're willing to do that'll be like easy calories shaved off, right? As opposed to me going, okay, RC, you can only eat broccoli and sweet potatoes and dry chicken breasts
I will
for the
hang up
next
this
12 weeks.
podcast right now if you
Right,
tell me that.
right,
I will.
exactly. But think about what a lot of trainers try to do. They're like, just eat like me and you lose weight. Well, that's not sustainable. That's not sustainable, right? So every fitness professional listening can do what I'm doing right now. Get your client to have them capture everything they eat, then sit down with them and go, okay, where can we shave off some calories?
Mm-hmm.
Now let's track that. Let's see how that works. Let's, give you some accountabilities. Let's set some goals and then let's do it again. And let's keep going and let's keep going. Let's keep going. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I think that it should be approached, as opposed to, giving them a prescription, which most trainers can't do anyways, right? In terms of writing menu plans, or giving them a do's or don'ts list. The do's or don'ts list, oftentimes, clients get resentful. They're like, what do you mean I can't eat that? Like, the hell,
Right.
you know?
Kind of meeting them where they're at and having that individualized attention, just as you would with their exercise, their movement program, doing the same thing for their nutrition guidance, and just meeting them where they're at, individualizing
Okay.
it. What is
So,
realistic? Go back to the SMART goals. I know every trainer has gone through the SMART goal setting, implementing that same thing within their nutritional programming as well. It's
yeah,
not realistic
yeah.
to cut out all the soda. You're drinking 5 this week. Let's try for 4 and then 3. And then
And I really think that, with fitness professionals, I think that if you're working with a clientele that wants to change their body composition, particularly weight loss, and you don't level up your education in nutrition, you're doing your clients a disservice.
Mhm.
You are. because the overwhelming majority of their results are going to come from their nutrition. Period.
Preach it.
Period.
Tell
So
'em.
if you don't level up your education and nutrition, you're not going to know how to help your clients. And then guess what? You're going to be miserable as a trainer because you're going to be like, what is wrong with me as a trainer? It's my workouts. Do my workouts suck? No, you're not addressing nutrition. You could be a great exercise design programmer. You could be like the baddest programmer on earth in regards to creating the best workouts. And if your clients don't change their nutrition, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in terms of body composition. Now, will they get stronger? Will they get more flexible? Will they get more fit? Yes, but in terms of their body composition, no. And, based on my experience, most people hire a trainer to get them to change their body composition.
Yep.
And then I've seen it 1,000 times. Trainers quit.
Because their clients aren't getting results.
Because their clients are getting results.
Everyone's
and they think
frustrated.
It's their exercise programming. And it's not. You've got to have a nutrition strategy. And you don't have to be a dietitian to do it. You really don't. But you do have to have some education, and you can't just get it from muscle and fiction. Oops, did I say that? Sorry.
I'm not editing it out. Keeping it raw, uncut.
I'm kidding. There are some good writers in different industry magazines out there. But my point is there's a lot of misinformation as well. Right. And we have to be vigilant.
You said misinformation. That to me immediately was like, okay, we got to talk about supplementation, because when I think about misinformation, I immediately think about supplementation. I think about all of the, factors of them not being regulated, most of them, and just like trash that people are putting in their body. And like, it hurts my heart because you see people that have the right intention. They are doing their research, and it's not their fault that they don't know the differences on what quality supplementation is versus another. They just read about the importance of aminos or a multivitamin, and they went to the grocery store and they bought one, or they bought what the, influencer that they follow that is taking, and not realizing not only could it be one, just a waste of money and not even doing what it is supposed to do nutritionally wise in that product, but furthermore, it can be detrimental. It could be harmful. So let's dive into that. Let's talk about supplements. Let's just talk about maybe do's and don'ts, and then enlighten us on the differences around different companies that make supplementation, and what should somebody be looking at when they're looking to purchase supplements to complement their nutrition.
Right. Okay. So the main thing that people need to know is that it's a buyer beware market. Now, supplements are regulated in the United States, but they are very loosely regulated. And what that means is that companies can make anything, and they don't have to prove that their product is safe or effective prior to marketing or selling it. Okay.
So you're saying that I'm in the fitness industry. I got some connects. I made some money. I'm going to go make a women's multivitamin. Yeah. I make it, and then I just go and sell it to 1 million people. And you don't even know if I like what I put in it, really.
Right. You can make it, and you can put pixie dust in it and ground up rice and all kinds of stuff in it.
It's so great for the muscles.
And you can hire an Instagram model or an influencer and do all kinds of, campaigns and ads and sell it to a bunch of people, and it can be completely ineffective. Yeah. So that can happen in our
What
country.
Are the regulations? As I know, there are supplements out there that are highly quality. What would be like a seal or a stamp or some like representation that when you're looking at a product you could say, okay, this is legit?
So you have to. It's complicated. So first and foremost, the regulations are that companies are supposed to follow certain rules to ensure that their products are safe and effective. Those are called good manufacturing practices. But it's an honor system, because what the FDA does is
I totally trust people. That sounds like a good way.
Yeah. So what you want to look for is you want to look at products that are third-party independently tested, right? So things like the NSF certified for sport, informed choice and informed sport are also, it's a good third-party certification. And then there are some more common ones like I think Consumer Labs does some third party testing, Labdoor as well. So you want to look for that.
And that
And if
would
you're
be
working with
public information, right? Like that would be like I'm holding up the container and it says like NSF on
well,
it,
yes,
or when you go
you
on their
want to
website or
verify.
something.
You got to go on the actual third party agency website because companies can also fraudulently add a mark that they've been
Jeez.
certified, but they're not. And that's happened as well. Yeah, that's
Oh,
happened as well.
oh, my
So
heart.
you want to look for that, right? And so that's what we do at dotFIT is we, third party test all the products because our manufacturer, we go, okay, hey, we want you guys to make a creatine monohydrate. We want it to be, 5 grams per serving because that's the effective dosage. And we want you to, NSF certified for sports, so it doesn't have any it doesn't have any banned substances in it, so that our teams and athletes don't test positive for a drug test. And so our manufacturers go and make it, and then NSF then analyzes it, and they double check to make sure, and they do all their testing, and then it's like, okay, now you have a product. So if you caught on, there's a couple things you need to know. First of all, what are you looking for? What ingredient are you looking for? And what is the effective dosage for that ingredient? So you got to know that. And you only know that through the research or through a trusted source, right? And then you want something that's independently or third party tested, in my opinion, because it is an honor system and anybody can make anything. And they may not get caught. They can maybe making something. And why would a company make a cheap product and not put enough ingredients in it? Because it saves them money. And if they don't get caught and they sell all these products, then they make more profit.
Yeah.
And third party testing is not required by law. It's not required by law. So it's an extra cost to companies to independently and third party test their products. So I think a lot of companies are like, well, we don't have to do it and we might not get caught. So why don't we not? So I think, I'd like to think that there are fewer of those companies that are out there, but it still exists. And we're talking about stuff that people ingest, that consume,
Right.
they put on their body. So, we don't want, the middle-aged mom who wants to lose 30 pounds taking a dietary supplement that's contaminated and end up having liver failure. Like that's like, can you imagine? Like that's
kind
not
of
what we want to happen.
counterproductive on I think the objective that they were probably going for. So within all that, I mean, I'm super biased. I had the privilege of finding dotFIT products very early on in my health and fitness journey. And I swear I've never put anything else in my body. Like I did my research. I saw it. I'm like, I'm not putting that shit in my body. If it's not dotFIT, I'm not taking it. Like I am not taking it. So I can vouch by far, but I mean, and you even can like, and I say all that to say like, I've had clients, throughout my career that were taking other stuff. And of course, I educated them. We got them on a cleaner, higher quality product like dotFIT. And I can't say that I understand the difference firsthand because I had never taken anything else, but every single time, with all honesty, every single time my clients would switch from what they were taking to a quality supplementation like dotFIT, they came back and they said, oh, I see what you're talking about now. Like that, I feel better. I feel more energized. That pre-workout actually works the best. I don't get X, Y, and Z negative effects that they got from something else, or, all of these things that a clean product is supposed to do. If it is working effectively, you feel and you see and you recognize the difference. Are supplements important? I know there's people out there listening that probably don't take supplements at all. Why is supplementation important for even those of whom aren't exercising, right?
Well, okay. So there's 32 essential vitamins and minerals the body requires to run your metabolism to support optimal health, right? And you have to eat quite a wide variety of foods in order to get all of those and meet the daily requirements every single day. That is very difficult to do.
And you'd be out of that deficit. You'd be eating so much food.
Now think about this. Humans are creatures of
habit,
right? Yeah. So think about it. What do you eat the same fruits and vegetables on a regular rotating basis?
Guilty.
Do you eat the same breakfast in general on the regular I mean, do you know what I mean? Humans are
Mhm.
creatures of habits. So most people don't get a wide enough variety of foods and quantities of foods to meet all of their daily requirements for our 32 vitamins and minerals. So it's kind of a no-brainer. Now, to your point, now you're in a deficit. Now you got to cut calories. If you cut calories, you cut nutrients. You cut nutrients. Now, what are you putting at risk? Well, your metabolism doesn't have all the vitamins and minerals that is required. Now you're compromising your health because you're not getting enough calcium, you're not getting enough vitamin D, or you're not getting enough omegas or magnesium. Or so now you're compromising your health as well because you're not getting enough nutrients. And to me, it's a no-brainer. Like when we, as mothers, when we're pregnant, we take a prenatal vitamin. And why does a doctor want us to take a prenatal? Well, to make sure the baby gets all of the nutrients it's required for optimal growth and development. Okay, so you come out of the womb and what? Now you don't want to grow and
Now you just don't
optimally
need
and
nutrients anymore. Like,
just, and I always say adults eat bad and kids eat worse, right? And like as we get older, I'm sorry, you know, people don't eat well. People
Mhm.
do not eat well in general. They don't eat well,
Right. No, we don't
especially
even want
with
to
all
go
the
into the
different.
reasons of the things that have been contributing
Yeah.
to that, of that they.
Yeah. Now, would I want everybody to get all of their micronutrients from food alone? Absolutely. But guess what? 20 plus years in this industry, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. So I'm like, why take a risk? We've been doing this since the baby was in the womb. Let's just keep getting our nutritional insurance from a high quality multivitamin mineral that suits our needs, our age, our gender, our activity level, our life stage. It's a no-brainer. It's like what? Like people have all these insurances. You have think of all the different insurances people have. Do you have car insurance? Do you have renter's insurance? Do you have house insurance? Do you have pet insurance? Do you have life insurance? Why do you have all these insurances?
Check, 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 check.
Okay, so do you have nutritional insurance? Because you only got one body. Well, why not?
Right, right. It's that
Why not?
investment too, where people I think don't
Yeah,
understand that importance of it, so they neglect it. It's like, oh well, what you put your new multivitamin and then you tag on something else. That is an expense technically, right? If we're budgeting out our
yeah.
monthly income and what we can afford, people might cut out the supplementation, but it's like
Well,
that is an investment. I love how you worded that, of like this insurance policy on
mhm.
yourself. And if all those other things don't matter, you can't drive your car, you can't live in your house, you can't do all the things that you have insurance on that you're putting money towards if you haven't put money towards your own health, your true overall being of who you are as a person.
Well, and think about it. Here's the other issue too. You can't see or feel what's happening in your body from a micronutrition level, right? Like if you're not getting enough calcium and vitamin D and vitamin K in your body on a regular basis, calcium rich foods, most people don't eat enough of that, right? Vitamin K, cruciferous vegetables, Brussels sprouts and bok choy, and things like people don't eat enough of that. Magnesium, we're talking about greens and seeds, and that's people don't get enough of that. Vitamin D, you got to get that from the sunshine. If you're not getting adequate sunshine, there's very little sources naturally that you can get vitamin D from. So if you're not getting all these on a regular basis, your body's like, what's up? Like, I need this stuff. And the body breaks down slowly over time because you're not giving it enough. And nobody sees it or feels the body breaking down until it's too late.
Late. You're playing
you
catch
know?
up on,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
or
until
trying
it's
to.
too late. Until it's too
Mhm.
late. Now, this would not be a problem if we were like our ancestors and our average lifespan was 25, 30 years old, because enough time wouldn't have gone by in order for our bones to deteriorate. You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but now we're living till 80, 100, and all these decades are passing by of gaps in micronutrition, and your body's just chipping away, falling apart, and you end up with chronic disease.
Mhm.
And that's micronutrition. That's overall, making sure you're getting all these 32 vitamins and minerals on a regular basis. I know we might be getting off topic, but it just
So
for
on the
me, it's
topic.
like,
There's no topic off topic here. Yeah. I think like what we're chatting about and kind of the theme is where we opened up the entire conversation at the beginning of the episode was around preventative. And that's what we're harping on here, is like it is preventative medicine type approach, right? It's like we're not saying that you are 100% guaranteed to not get these chronic illnesses, but the likelihood is drastically decreased if you have taken care and filled in those gaps from a nutritional standpoint, that you can decrease your risk of some of the leading major causes of death
Absolutely.
in specifically our country, that we're saying, hey, these things are important. And if you apply X, Y, and Z, you could be a healthier, happier individual, like with
You could save
lower
yourself a
risk of
lot of
odds.
pain. Right.
Mhm.
Save yourself a lot of pain and a lot of issues down the line if you nourish your body well.
Mhm. Well, I
And
know we're
part of
going
that
to
is
do,
dietary supplements.
yeah, I bet I have
Yeah.
the whole other uh cheat, guys. We're doing a Q&A after this because I have so many other questions. I told you at the beginning, I was like, I have like a literal list. And I was like, my list is so long for this episode. So
I
we're
don't
going
have
to
to be
do
anywhere.
a micro series, a little miniature segment later on. So tune into that, guys. Check out our social media. We're going to go way down the rabbit hole within Q&A around nutrition. I do want to make sure we have time to chat about your fiber foundations that you brought to the episode, as well as what you wish you would have had known. So let's go into that a bit. You have selected for our fiber foundations the three words that you feel are right, these pillars of success and necessary attributes to help someone along in their career or in their life. And you've
Mm-hmm.
selected truth, passion, and compassion. Miss Cat, can you unpack those three words for us, starting with truth? Why did you select that as one of the fiber foundations?
Well, as they say, right? You've heard the saying, the truth shall set you free. And then you think about fitness, a lot of our clients, an average member walks in and they're desperate for a solution. They're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And they deserve to get an evidence-based, credible program, right? Or service from the person that they're paying. And oftentimes it's a fitness professional. And you have to tell them the truth. Here's the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
You can work out, but if you don't change your eating habits, you're not going to lose the weight you want to lose. We have to start there, right? A lot of trainers overestimate exercise and they underestimate nutrition. And that's one of the biggest mistakes they make and their greatest source of frustration.
Mhm.
So you have to tell your clients the truth, right? And the truth will set you free. Now, on the client end as well, right? If they're underreporting calories, if they don't have consciousness, if they don't know what their current intake is, you can't change something you don't acknowledge,
Right.
right? So we have to get to the truth, what is really happening. And that sort of ties into the compassion piece because a lot of times fitness professionals will get judgy or judgmental or inadvertently shame clients. You shouldn't be eating that. Why are you eating that? What are you thinking? Oh my God, you ate that? And those are all very shaming statements. And how does that make our clients feel? Well, do you think they feel comfortable walking into a gym that they don't ever stepped in before with all these trainers walking around all, in their cute Lululemons and medium t-shirts? Do you think it's a comfortable space for them? It's not. So clients are already intimidated and then the trainers shaming them or making shaming statements. And that's so crushing to someone who is deconditioned, sedentary, overweight, and is deeply, deeply, deeply frustrated with themselves and already ashamed of themselves. So, trainers need to have some compassion for the client's struggle, right? And
Mhm.
to go back earlier, meet the client where they are. I'm not here to judge you. The more data you give me, the more we can find a solution together. So don't worry if you're eating, Popeye's chicken 8 times a day. I don't care. It's a starting point, right? Let's work on this together. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to empower you. So those two sort of go hand in hand, right? And then the passionate piece, hopefully you can feel my passion if you don't, but like if you don't care, find the truth. If you're not passionate about helping your client, then you need to go get another job, honey. You don't belong in this industry, okay? Sorry, you
Then
just
no, say it
don't.
louder for the people in the back,
I'm just
Cat.
saying, like, if you don't have some kind of compassion and care and you don't want to help somebody and you're not willing to meet someone where they're at without shame and judgment, this is not the industry for you.
Right. And that
It's
industry
not.
is to change lives. to
Yes.
help impact positively,
Yeah.
right? The like, there's everything. You're literally changing lives. Like if people are understanding that as a fitness professional, this is bigger than just giving them workouts. The things that you're
It's so much
saying and
bigger.
doing and implementing will
Mhm.
literally change their lives on so many other dimensions.
Mhm.
It's going to mentally impact them, emotionally impact them, financially, career wise, because they're going to be operating differently, all stemmed off of, like you had said, if you're being compassionate and providing them with the truths, you can
Yes.
truly, I know
Mhm.
we have similar mentors. They say you can change the world,
Yeah.
right? You can change this forever ongoing pandemic of obesity and chronic health concerns that our nation faces if we lead with passion, show compassion, and tell the truth. I love that,
Absolutely.
Kat. Yeah.
Right? Let's do it. That's to me, that's what it's about, and if
Mhm.
you're passionate, you're going to always be seeking the truth and educating yourself in the best shape that you can, and going to classes and listening to podcasts and doing these things to develop yourself. And it will end up being a very fulfilling life for you.
Yeah.
You won't be a constantly frustrated trainer that, your clients never get results. You'll be someone who is truly, shifting generations, if you will. Because if you can shift a mom's self esteem and shift her health from disease, to longevity, then you're impacting her family and their families. And it really is, sort of this domino effect, if you will. So, part of me gets frustrated with the fitness industry because a lot of people become trainers and it's all about flexing their abs and, you know, you know, flexing their abs and telling people what to do. And they don't lead with compassion. And then what happens is, as an industry, we get sort of like a bad rap, right? Because we
Yeah.
don't lead with compassion. So I just hope that people can, really step back out of their own shoes and realize that people don't live how you live. They didn't exercise their whole lives. They didn't play sports. They're intimidated. They're uncomfortable in their skin, and they need someone who's going to hold their hand and say, "I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to judge you."
Mhm.
So if we can do that, then really we will be the warriors, the soldiers, if you will, on the forefront of fighting chronic disease and helping to,
Love
you know,
that. Like a
give people.
superhero. When like
Yeah,
I feel like instead of like trainer on the back of people's shirts, which I like have, I'm feeling some type like superhero vibe that we
Shiro.
need to adjust our industry. I'm putting that out there. Whoever
Okay.
makes the uniforms for personal trainers, we would like to see that a little bit more superhero themed.
I
I
like
would,
red. Red's my favorite color. Thank you very much.
yeah,
But
it's
go
almost
ahead.
like, like a badge. You just like show up and you're just like,
Right. Exactly. I love
oh
it.
yeah, that makes me think of good friend Jason from Precision Nutrition. In his episode, he was sharing a story around it ties into that compassion piece where these people aren't going to tell you that. It was somebody who wanted to cut out the soda. They really didn't want to cut out that soda. But it took a journey of compassion for that fitness professional to unravel the emotional connection of why that client was having that soda. And if we're not leading with compassion and these people can't trust us to tell us this kind of traumatic story behind that, why they're doing that, we're never going to get to that problem. We're never going to get to that
Yeah.
root. And
Hmm.
so I just love that common theme that, so many high level professionals, such as yourself and others that I speak with, y'all are saying the same thing. So that's kind of like that reassurance of like, okay, maybe one
Yeah.
person might be crazy, but you think all of these high level executives are crazy? Like, this is
Right.
real. This is
Right.
necessary. Like, you have to
Right.
have that compassion and that passion. I want to segue just a bit because you are so passionate and you are such an impactful educator, in our space. Others are probably listening and being like, okay, I'm with it. I'm on board with everything y'all are saying. How can I educate others? How can I be a good leader and coach and relay information to people? Do you have like a piece of advice that you would lend to someone who wants to, go down that path of being an educator?
Well, I mean, in today's age, there's so many opportunities. Like you can go live on Instagram and talk to your audience and educate people on different topics, right? You could, in a gym, if you work in a gym, you could put on a nutrition seminar, right? Or hold a Zoom conference or a fitness and nutrition conference or a weight loss summit or what. There's so many ways that you can deliver, and it goes back to, are you telling the truth based on what the evidence shows, right? Are you telling the truth and are you spreading the right information? So I would just say educate yourself, and then whatever platform or avenue that's in front of you that's readily available, just start.
To start.
Start.
That's the big
Just
piece, I think.
start.
That's what I
Yeah.
needed to hear for myself. I was just asking it for myself.
Yeah.
It's just that common, thing. I was like, just got to do it, I guess is kind of the
Yeah.
answer. It's like, just do it in whatever form feels comfortable to you.
Yeah.
IG live, on a seminar,
Yeah.
on an ebook, whatever. Just do it.
Just do it. Put it out
If you're
there for
passionate about
people.
it, do it.
Put it out there. And you
Cool.
will attract the people who resonate with your message. And there's a whole bunch of people who need to hear what you have to say, given that you're doing it with, truth and compassion,
Yeah.
I think.
So beautiful. Love that. Yes. Yes, yes,
Yay.
yes. We're not too passionate people or anything. Oh, well, I want to, at the ending here, ask you the question we ask every guest that comes on the show here, what they wish they would have had known. So you can take that, personal implementation in your life, professionally, just if you could go back in time, what would you have had told yourself? What do you wish you would have had known that you know now?
Just in general in life or related to fitness and career?
Mike is yours. Whatever you think somebody out there needs to hear in any
Yeah.
way, just what is leave us with what do we need to know? What is something that we're doing that we don't need to be doing that we thought was important that's not
Yeah.
anymore, or a
Mm-hmm.
nutritional piece that you didn't know that you know
Mm-hmm.
now, or just whatever's on your heart in this moment, what you wish you would have had
Yeah.
known.
Well, I would say that it's all happening for you. It's all happening for you, especially the dark times. Like when things get difficult and you don't know how the heck you're going to get to the next day, if you can keep in mind, okay, it's all happening for me. There's something in here that's happening for me. Let me try to find it. Then you'll always be on this quest for wisdom and growth and consciousness and improvement, as opposed to getting stuck down to, why did this happen to me? And can I just make this go away? And you go down this road of being a victim, or even down the road of addiction and just trying to numb your emotions and trying to not feel emotions, right? Which is a normal thing. All humans have to feel emotions. Emotions aren't bad, they're just messengers. So, again, going back to, it's all happening for you. If you're willing to seek what is there, it'll elevate you in some shape or way. Yeah.
What an incredible answer and way to end this episode. Really beautiful. Thank you for all of the wisdom you shared, for all of the heartfelt, passionate answers to the questions, and helping be a voice of education. I know I'll see you at Goon Cat, and don't forget to check out, I think they can use code FIBR, FIBR 30 for a discount at dotFIT. So
Yeah.
go on board,
Do
hop
it.
on.
Get your
We talked about
multivitamin,
quality.
people.
Go get it, people. Go get it.
Thank you, RC. I appreciate you having me. It was fun to be here.
Always. We'll chat again soon.
Okay.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed something from today's conversation, let us know by giving this episode a like, chatting in the comments, and sharing it with your friends. We always love to hear from you, so you can send email messages to podcast@fibr.fit and connect with us on Instagram @FitBridgePodcast for even more exclusive content. Special thanks to our friends at Winner Productions for all things audio and post edits. And on behalf of the entire staff here at fibr, it's been my absolute pleasure helping bridge community to opportunity.